Coming to you from the studios at the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66, it's the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Rock and roll Chicago, rock and roll Chicago, my hometown. Well, I was born in the city, gonna rock the city, Chicago. Chicago rock and rollers are the best here out around.
Hey, everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike with another glorious episode.
Another glorious episode on a warm November night.
Warm November night. Yeah, that's right. It's raining, and I'm lucky enough to be able to ride a motorcycle, but I was stupid.
That's right. In a thunderstorm. You're going to have fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I have one shirt, and luckily it's cotton, so it'll absorb and soak me to the bone.
Yeah, or we can find you a hefty garbage bag.
Yeah, we could do that. We could probably do that.
Cut a hole in it, put it on.
Yeah, that may actually be kind of fun.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah, it works.
You get caught. Yeah, it helps for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a guest that's been here before. He knows us. He knows he knows all the shenanigans and everything that are about to happen. He was here with Two Beer Tommy.
That's right.
Gosh, how long ago was that?
Oh, more than 2 beers ago.
Yeah. Exactly. It might have been a year or two ago.
Yeah. So tell everybody who you are.
Well, my name's Rich. I'm a Sagittarius.
Perfect. Yeah.
With the band Wildwood Country.
Wildwood Country.
Yes, sir. More upper.
You can bring it up. Yes, bring it right up there.
Right,
Yeah, make it light.
Anyway,
easy.
Rich, Sagittarius, Wildwood Country.
Right.
Which is kind of a concept thing like Two Beer Tommy was, actually.
Yeah.
So.
And do you like long walks on the beach and pina coladas?
And playing guitar, long walks on the beach. Exactly right. All of that.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to get along, though, because I'm a Scorpio. But Scorpio and Sagittarius, I don't think they get along.
I don't know. I'm a Leo. I'm the top of the line. So,
well, actually, I'm a Cancerian. I just love how sad it sounds.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leo's they're the top of the heap, man.
No, I think you're just a big pussy.
Yeah. So either you guys want a date? Is that what
Yeah, now it's become a dating podcast.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about band mix. That's, on the last podcast, that's kind of like Tinder for musicians.
And I thought that was like cake mix or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Wildwood Country.
Yes, sir.
Wildwood Country. So take us back. How did this whole thing come about and start for you?
Well, let's talk about the divorce and then what happened with the kids and then how we moved on, right? Yeah. So Two Beer Tommy, great band, great bunch of people. But I've got a vision, and probably a lot of people come here and sit in these seats do, you know? I got this vision that I want to play a certain, style and in a certain way. And that's what makes me alone in this world. Because not many people share my vision because it takes a lot of work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And not everybody gets along, right? So with Two Beer Tommy, they did not necessarily want to do the same amount of work that I was doing, though we did a lot of work and played around a lot,
Right.
So, we were at a show and all of a sudden I realized, well, this is it. This is as far as this is going to go. So it would, Nick joined the band. Other people came in, great musicians. So I'm like, okay, this is a good time to bow out and I'm going to start a new thing. Right. Same concept though. But, Wildwood Country and Wildwood is just about, and you might be familiar with Wildwood guitars.
Sure.
Right. So that's a company, but everybody for the most part has got wood in their hands at some time or another. Right.
Since I was 12 years old.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I'm not going to go there, but wood, drummers got wood, everybody's holding wood, right? So, but when it's all coming together, and it gets wild, then, that's what Wildwood is all about, but it's more of a concept and not about who's in the band. It's about this vibe that you're going to come and see. Because if you ever look at our stuff, you'll see no two shows have the same two people because I just say yes. Okay. So then I get who's available. Hey, what are you doing next week?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's wild that way too.
Right.
But it's going to be the same vibe. Line dancers, people singing along, same kind of music, and a lot of great players, which makes it a lot of fun for me because I get to play with a lot of people.
So this wasn't really a difference in like musical concept.
No, not at all.
No, you're still doing the same kind of music and, probably a lot of overlap from Two Beer Tommy?
Maybe about 50% overlap, more country than kind of classic rock. A lot of the country bands around here, and God bless them all. I just played with one at Bub City Saturday night. And a lot of people do the same shtick where they do some 90s country. They do some old school country a little bit. And then they do the classic rock thing.
Right.
Right. So, but this band does no classic rock. It does either old country or new country, but not the newest, 90s country stuff that people kind of like to dance to.
So you tend to stay away from that line where you start to cross into Southern rock or whatever.
But the closest we get to it is we will take a song, for example, I Want You to Want Me, right?
Okay.
Great. Illinois, classic song. Everybody loves to sing along it. Cheap Trick. But Dwight Yoakam does a killer version of it. So we play we play the Dwight Yoakam. So we'll do country versions of those songs that people will sing along and dance to.
Right.
But we're not going to do the Cheap Trick version. Right. And nothing against my brothers. I mean, I love those guys.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Right. So I guess I'm just trying to get a grasp on the concept here. So what was the thing that was missing there for you? They weren't playing enough for you?
The two beer guys?
Yeah.
Well, I wear people out pretty fast.
Okay. All right.
I wear you guys out before this is out. Right. So what happens is it just gets to a point where people get tired, you know what I mean? And then they're just kind of doing the same thing, but nobody wants to elevate it to like what I call like a next level. Like that band got to a level where it was just about ready to do some fests and do some stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. But you can be a great player. Right. And I play with a lot of great players. Many of them play circles around me. In fact, almost all of them do.
Sure.
But when a band has got a little certain something, you know what I mean? It takes more than just being a great player. Like you've got to bring a little something to the show. Mm-hmm. You can play circles around, but if you're staring at your feet,
right.
What does that do? If you can't get people motivated, I know we work with a lot of artists who I don't think are very good players at all, but man, can they move people.
And we've all seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's kind of where you're at. And as some people get to a point where they're just like, do we got to do this again? Or, I look at even shows that maybe there's 3 people at is paid rehearsal. And I'm so happy to be there. I'm going to play like Madison Square Garden, right?
Right.
And the next thing is going, oh, this is bullshit. There's nobody here. But, did they work in bringing anybody there? No. They're not lifting a finger to do anything. All they're going to do is complain. So you can check off some boxes, sing good, play good. Yeah. Can you handle your equipment?
Right.
Not really. Can you do this? Can you smile? No.
Right.
So those kind of things start to happen.
So what was the thing that happened for you that made you think, okay, Wildwood is where I want to be? What kind of stuff kind of set the green light off for you, I guess?
Well, again, I wanted to work towards that next level. And, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I'm a whore. Mm-hmm. So I get a lot of offers for shows, right? And I don't like to say no. So I say yes to almost everything. Okay. That's maybe not good, but there's a lot of places I love to play. I love playing carols. I love playing Bub City. Played it the other night. I love, Saddle Up. I love line dance. I'm addicted to line dancers. I don't know why. And I'm a classic rocker by trade, but something happens in the country thing, that I just love how the people enjoy that music, so. Yeah.
And they can line dance to anything, can't they?
Don't.
Even classic rock.
I know, it's crazy.
However.
And line dancers are serious about that shit.
Yeah, they are.
And that's really a key point, because the thing is, if you don't think about tempo and you don't think about, the beats and stuff like that, like you can speed things up and get like a live vibe, but it screws up the dancers, right? You really need to think. And so I got to tell you, it's a hell of a conversation with the drummer. I go, okay, great. We're going to start. I just like a click. I'd like you to click me in on what the tempo, but I'm not locked in that we're going to play to a track or you're going to play to the click. I still like the motion of the music a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But when we go from a fast song to a slow song, and that song is this beat,
right?
We should be starting to that beat. If you let the guitar player start, forget about it. Right? You're off to the races.
That's right.
That's the whole thing. And not a lot of drummers around here. Not to go up on drummers, but a lot of guys have dreams. John Bonham when they're 14, and what Wildwood they were playing with in their bedroom, listening to that stuff and the brass that they're hitting and all the stuff. Not everybody is a pocket player or wants to be one. You know what I mean? Not every bass player wants to be a pocket player. They can fill a lot of space. Not every guitar player on here wants to play clean. that's a whole nother animal.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so a lot of great musicians, but not everybody wants to play kind of in that avenue, you know,
Right.
so it's really hard to find. But the Last Cats didn't want to, you know, and I did. I'm like, you know, I'm going to find other players and great players, great drummers, great guitar players, great, you know, a little bit of everything, pedal steel players. So I just bring in, I have a bench of everything, you know,
Yeah.
Well,
three of these, 2 of those, 4 of those.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Okay, you said you're a classic rock guy.
Yes, correct.
Then why'd you go country?
Man, that's a great question. So we talked about this a little bit last time. I toured my whole life for 40 years, right? You know, so started in the 80s with REO Speedwagon was my first national tour.
Wow.
Believe
Okay.
it or not.
Right.
Can tune the piano, but you can't tune a fish,
Yep.
right? So, and I was working for the opening act. Then I was a guitar and drum tech at the time.
Okay.
And a good friend of mine, Porky was his name. He's from here. He was their main guitar tech and pyro guy and everything on REO, and brought me out, and I did that tour.
Sure.
From that point, I was out with Ted Nugent. Then I went out with Ozzy Osbourne, was with Randy Rhoads up until the accident, you know, and so I did classic rock, Uriah Heep, Crocus. I toured with a whole bunch of rock bands and classic rock bands.
Right.
And before that,
As like a guitar tech and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guitar
Right.
but I played in the clubs before I was old enough to drink. Because at that time it was doing the slide between, you know, 18, 19, 21,
Yep,
18, 19.
yep.
Remember, it was going back
Yep.
and forth. So I
Right.
was playing in a lot of clubs when it changed,
Mhm.
it changed back, but they knew me. But then I got this tour 1980 with REO and moved on. So I did that. And then I went out with, in fact, I got this from James Taylor. I went out with James.
Oh, no kidding.
I did
He's pointing to a bolo tie.
Yeah. Yes.
so this bolo, which I wear at every show because it's my
Right.
good vibe. I got that with James, sold out tour, and I'm sitting at the side of the stage in a rocking chair, sold out every age of people and singing every song. And I'm like, wow, this is great.
Isn't that perfect that there's a rocking chair off stage?
It is. I was thinking the same
It
thing.
seems like it absolutely
Yeah.
has. You can't have a James Taylor show without a rocking chair.
There's
Yeah.
one.
There was actually 2 of them.
There's one extra flight case just for that.
Yeah, exactly right. So
You know, that is, I have to ask you because people are going to want to know this. He's a very private person in the
Yes.
public eye.
Yes.
What is James Taylor like?
well, I can tell you this without really breaking too much stuff. You know, he's got a life where he, Fire and Rain, if you will, if you know the song, right? But now, he's kind of a really laid back guy, probably the nicest guy in the world you want to meet. I think we talked about this a little bit last time. I got this weird concept that God only gives musicians like this 2 of 3 things. You either get personality, looks, or talent.
Yeah, I remember we did talk about that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So James has looks and great personality. Now, his talent, obviously, he's an incredible singer, but those songs he's singing came from Carole King or
Right.
other people. They're
Right.
written by other people. And he's a troubadour. He delivers this music at such a level that, I get chills thinking about it.
Right.
And probably the greatest show, because I also toured with Carole King.
Yeah.
And once it was her birthday, and we were at the Beacon in New York, and James came in mid-song at You Got a Friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
Place just electric, but greatest guy in the world. Carried his bicycle, go out riding bicycles,
Wow.
sit at dinner, talk and
Yeah.
just a great guy, and everybody in the band, the best of the best,
Yeah.
So, but after that James experience, I went out with Bruce Hornsby in the Range when his record popped, right?
Right. You're talking
just the way it is.
Just the way it is. Yeah.
And so that was unbelievably on a small tour. And all of a sudden it was the biggest thing. It won the Grammys and did everything. And
That
then-
was my first recording experience. By the
Oh,
way.
really?
I grew up when I was younger. I lived in like the Bloomingdale, Roselle area
Sure.
and stuff, and there was Stratford Square Mall and
Yeah.
in Bloomingdale.
Yeah.
And there was a Soundtracks recording studio where any knucklehead can go in there and pay $10 or whatever and pick out a song, and they put it on a cassette tape. Wasn't even CDs or anything back then. And I was with a friend of mine named Anne Marie, and she goes, you could probably sing that Bruce Hornsby song really well, right? So I go to Soundtracks, and the first thing I ever recorded was "The Way It Is" by Bruce Hornsby.
That's amazing.
And I still have it. I still have that cassette tape on Soundtracks.
So cool. Now, Bruce was the greatest guy in the world, and that was my first time from being like in a club guy. And every once in a while, a band would mess with me and say, hey, come on out and play. Because I knew I played guitar a little bit, and I loved it because I'd always be noodling and bothering guitar techs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one day, Bruce goes, hey, at the end of the show, we're going to play Defenders of the Flag. You come out and do a solo, right? And so George Marinelli was the guitar player at the time. Great guy. Went out with Body Rate for many years. He's retired now, but
so you're the guitar tech, and they just say, hey,
I was a lighting.
You were lighting tech, and for shits and giggles, they're like, hey, you're going to come out and rip a solo.
Exactly right. So they go, guitars behind the amp. Hit this A/B switch, and you're going to come around and go, right?
Right.
And I go, we're going to rehearse this, Bruce? He goes, no, just go for it, right? So I was kind of excited to do it. What key are we in, whatever. But here's what I was not prepared for. I hit the A/B switch. I come around the side of the amps, and all the spots hit me, and I'm in the middle of this sold out show, and I'm playing. I'm like, man, you're
shaking.
Get that shake going.
Yeah. You weren't prepared all of a sudden. Yeah. I'm usually on that end of that beam.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This was all easy until I got here. Right. You better not suck. Right. So I'm playing, and I'm just like, it really throws up. But Bruce is laughing so hard. He's like, go again. Go again.
Where was this? What was the venue?
Oh, it was somewhere down south. I can't remember. I don't know, Florida somewhere, Arkansas or something like that.
I was just trying to gauge, like you said, sold out show. How many people were you staring at that point?
Oh, probably only about 2,000 or 3,000. Maybe a sold out theater show,
a theater type.
Okay, reeling it back a little bit. I haven't heard anything about country.
All right. Because I got 40 years of road stories. Right?
Yeah.
So what got me into country? I got off the road, and just as you guys know me from last time, I'm a name dropper. So, 40 years of touring, but the last tour I was out with was Paul Simon, right?
Okay.
So maybe 14 years or so with him. I get off the road, and this guy, a bass player, calls me up and he goes, hey man, there's this country cat, and he's looking for a guitar player. You'd be the perfect guy, and I'm like, get the hell out. I'm not a country guy at all, right? But, many years with great players, Bob Dylan for many years, Sting for many years, so many killer guitar players and stuff like that. I kind of get the tones, Mark Knopfler, the whole thing, so I clean up and I learn the music, and I go to the rehearsal, and the artist turns to me and he goes, you got the gig.
Wow.
And I'm like, damn. Now I got to learn all these songs.
Who's the artist?
His name was Matt Boone. He came out of Nashville, got his record deal, and I told you the story last time, but he did his showcase at Loretta Lynn's house, right?
Okay.
And he's singing, and some girl comes up to kiss him, and his wife jumps up and beats the shit out of her.
I remember that. I remember that.
And he loses the deal and everything, right? So he ends up coming up here to Wheaton and shacking out with a girl. He's married to her now. A really nice woman. And she runs a huge thing at Grand Ole Opry. Every year, a lot of the artists around here are down there. That Nate Vitelli guy, or whatever his name is.
Nate Venturelli.
Yeah, but he just won the award with her, the Josie Awards. Anyway, Matt is married to her.
Okay.
So, and Matt is the one who hired me, right, to get in there. And he goes, man, this is this classic rock thing. Everybody brings their Chicago blues, classic rock sensibility to the country. You're the first cat that brought the tone, I'm like, okay, great. But I said, I can't do this on my own because there's a lot of musicians. I mean, in the music, what I'm saying? A little acoustic, a little of this, a little of that. So I called up another guy that they had auditioned, but didn't get the job. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm like, hey, dude, if you come in and, do solos or whatever like that, I'll, take this part, you take that part, we'll divide and conquer. And actually Leo, who just left Hillbilly Rockstars, he was in Two Beer Tommy with me.
Okay,
And then he got poached by Hillbilly. And now he just got let go. Nothing, Leo, I just saw him the other day at a show, but we're going to be playing together in some other projects.
Nice. Yeah.
So we poured the country on and learned that, but that's a whole different style. You start playing, you start getting clean. And I'm not the greatest guitar player, but when you're playing like that, it forces you to be a better guitar player.
Oh, of course it does.
You know what I'm saying? There's no way about it. So
you remove the safety net.
Things. Yeah, exactly right. You know, and I absolutely love the journey. So I love picking up the songs, and I don't care whether I like the song or not. These songs wouldn't be popular if there wasn't something to it. So once you get in there, and there's always a little something, a little thing here, how they phrase, how they, built on this chord or do this little lick or whatever like that. So I've just been absolutely loving the journey. You know what I mean? And then playing with other musicians that are picking up on that, but not everybody picks up on it. Some cats come in and and I respect them totally. They're going to play their style. They're going to listen to that song and play it their way. They're not going to play to the music. They're going to play their thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Your Honor, I have no other questions.
Yeah. No, and I totally get it because, I love playing distorted, but man, to me, there's nothing like plugging into my 68 Custom Deluxe reverb with a compression pedal to get that, to get that pop, a little bit, get that pop sound, that Nashville setting on the compression pedal and get that.
I got a little Memphis slap back and a little compression, and you can do that for the most part. And then, a little light breakup or the amp just on the edge of breakup. You know what I'm saying? And, that's glorious, but let me tell you something. When you're trying to clean pick and do stuff like that, you can't hide.
No,
I make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? But the more I try and the more I'm doing it, the better I get at it.
Right.
So, and I'm one of those players, it's not about me, but it's all about me today. Right. But I'm all I ever think about, guys. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But I'm one of those guys. And around here, I really find this to be the case. So many great players. And because so many players play with their Chicago sensibility, which is killer, but is to get their amp and get their liquid solo sound. And then they roll off their tone just a little bit, but it starts to get a little muddy and a little pulled back, right? Sometimes you can do it right if you, but not everybody does. You know what I mean? Right. So they're killer players, but it's a little kind of muddy and ain't clean. You know what I'm saying? So, so I'm trying to do the clean thing.
Yeah. Right. No, I totally get that.
So but what I was going to get to is people always say, I always get guitar players that are better than me too. So they can always play like Nick. They play circles around me. Right. But at the end of the show, someone will come up, man, your tone was unbelievable, man. I love what you're doing. So I can still hang with people just by my vibe or just trying to capture the tone. Right. And most people are not thinking about their overall tone. They're going to play and bust your face open, right? No matter what the audience thinks. Right. You know what I mean? But you want to sit there with your girlfriend and have a few drinks. And if you want to enjoy the music, great. And if you don't, that's great too. But it's great or good, Right. I want to play at that level. Right. And not everybody wants to play at that level. Right. And I don't mean that's up here or down here. I mean, it's a difference between volume and loudness, right? If that makes sense.
I had a guy tell me one time, I play with a lot of really good guitar players as well. And the guitar player in my band is excellent.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Scott. He's fantastic.
Unbelievable.
And I used to tell people all the time, I wish I had half of his knowledge of the fretboard and half of his speed. Speed is one thing that's always eluded me as a guitar player.
Yeah.
And
let me tell you something.
I have people, it's overrated.
I'll tell you what, there is no sweep picking in country.
Right. Oh, I know.
These guys do these beautiful things and I just love it. Let me give you a good example. Steve Vai, incredible player. God, I can watch his videos all day long, but I can't put a song on and listen to a whole song of him playing. It's not musical to me, but how he plays, I wish I had one quarter of his talent.
The ability to be able to do that.
So I'm more a slow hand player. I can't do all that fast, licky kind of stuff. But sometimes people gravitate that you were the guy not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So
you ever listen to John 5?
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
See, now
his country stuff is unbelievable.
That's what I was getting at. He's got that guitar virtuoso,
Totally.
reputation kind of thing. But listen to his chicken picking stuff, and it's
unbelievable.
absolutely amazing.
No, he can do it all. It's unbelievable.
Right? Yeah, he's a fantastic guitar player.
Yeah,
I love listening to him. And my favorite guitar player is Leslie West.
Unbelievable.
Leslie West used to purposely try to play slower than what he thought he should be playing.
Totally.
One note at a time, and let's let that note ring out until it's lost its own energy. And now let's go get another one.
Yep.
Well, that's the David Gilmour thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to say with one note as opposed to Yngwie with 1,000? And I'm sorry, I would rather listen to David Gilmour hold the note than Yngwie. And nothing against all my Yngwie friends and fans, but it's after a while, it sounds like a guitar lesson. Just gets too much. And I love the guys that could do it. I can't, I'm quite honest. But,
So what was when you started touring, what was the first job that you got?
Well, national was REO Speedwagon.
Was REO Speedwagon. And what were you on that tour? Were you there?
I was a guitar. I was with the opening act called 707. It was a San
and you were a
Francisco
guitar
band.
tech.
Yeah.
Guitar tech.
Yeah.
So how does somebody acquire a job like that? Because I know there's a bunch of people out there. It's like, man, I want to be a guitar tech on a tour. How did you get that?
Well, as I said, Porky was the guy out there, and I was a guitar player in the clubs. So if you're a guitar player, you understand the basics of that. And these roles are always needed. Most guys are friends of the artist or whatever like that. Okay. But all the big bands now use two techs. Right? Okay. So I have many friends that are out there as the alternate guy. And why they need two techs is because the amp systems, most of them, if they're playing tube amps, are boutique and they're blowing up and doing their stuff. So one guy's working on amps. Right. And one guy's working on guitars. I went to Stones the other day, but only just to peek at gear. Right. Yeah. I didn't want to stay for the show because I've done some killer Stone shows, Yeah. But a friend of mine is the lighting director. And he's like, "Oh, you're going to stay for the show, aren't you?" And I'm like, yeah. But up on stage, look at the guitars. And then there's those two, what were they? Fender, I can't remember, twins, right? But the serial numbers were written on them, 001, 006, right?
Yeah.
Now these things,
Holy crap.
the wiring's not the same in it anymore, right? They've had
for sure.
And then there's another two behind it, 632 and 427 or whatever, right? You know what I mean? And the rack, and then 30 guitars. I mean, he pulled out 10 guitars during that show. Every one was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. I mean, just the best of the best. So there's a cat just taking care of that. Another cat taking care of this, right?
Of course.
And,
well, that's kind of where I was going with that, because I've had people, say stuff just, I can play guitar and stuff. It'd be cool to go on tour and do this. And I look at the guy and I say, yeah, but I've been telling you for 2 years now to fix that scratchy fucking pot you've got on that guitar. Yeah. I mean, and you can't do that.
But see, the fun, and that's a great thing, because Alchemy, and I build all my own stuff. I don't build my amps. I love Mesa. I love Fender. I buy those, but all my guitars I build. Yeah, you know what I mean. Or screw them together.
I mean, you've got the talent and the ability to do that, but there's a lot of guys out there that don't. And just because they can play guitar, doesn't mean that they.
No, but my point is, with the scratchy pot and all this other kind of stuff, I'm kind of baffled by guys that can't set up their own guitar or take a screwdriver or change their pots or solder stuff up. I mean, you really should be able to do that much.
You really should, if you're going to be an electric guitar player, because otherwise you're spending a lot of money to.
I mean, it's crazy
to have somebody to do that.
Every spring, your neck is going one direction. You got to pull out the, truss rod.
That's right. Yeah, you got to know how to do it.
Next fall, it's doing that. Your frets are popping out. I mean, I do. But a lot of people bring me their guitars too, and I'll work on them. I don't mind. That's what saved me during COVID. In fact, I wasn't really playing during COVID. I hung a shingle because I was out of work and just started teching people's guitars because everybody was dusting them off and taking them to play. Right?
Yeah, that's what was going on.
I did really good, and then started playing out.
And service is getting expensive now, because if you go on the internet, there's all kinds of schools you can go to, and now they've given guitar techs a fancy name that begins with the letter L, and now all of a sudden they got to spend.
But to be a luthier, you have to know how to build a guitar from scratch.
Right.
I mean, like an acoustic guitar or a flamenco.
You got to have a pile of wood. You got to know how to build it.
That's a real thing. Right. Like being a doctor.
Absolutely.
But a guitar tech like me, nuts and bolts guy, but you have to understand intonation. You've got to make it right for the artist. I mean,
you got to know how to work with a soldering iron and
all that stuff. And the artist is going to look at you and he grabs that guitar. It's got to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
of course.
Otherwise it's coming back at you and it ain't pretty. You know, you lift your head and all of a sudden, woo, here comes something.
Yeah.
Better get him another one.
Yeah. And you've done a bunch of different stuff. You went from guitar tech to lighting tech, and I mean, you've just done everything.
I started lighting. I got an offer to do Loverboy and Santana, and at the time, Loverboy was the biggest thing in the world. So I took that gig, and it fell through.
Okay.
So I had nothing to do. So I took a gig as a lighting.
This is probably about what, 88 to 92, somewhere around that era?
Like 84, 85,
Okay.
you know, and then started at Upstaging, which is where I work now. That's where I just drove from in Sycamore.
Okay.
Huge lighting company. It's, you know, and I don't want to sound boastful. It's like a Mercedes-Benz of lighting.
Sure.
Right? So, but right now in the shop I just left, I'm prepping, or I say but the crew chief and the crew were prepping Kings of Leon, right? That will go in Austin next week in the world tour, but you know, this is the American leg. So I'll fly down to Austin with those guys. They'll set it up, make sure everything's good. But I'm probably working on 10 tours at a time every week. Right. So while I'm working on regular tours, I also work on my Wildwood business. Sure. So nobody knows.
I mean, you're not jumping on a tour bus yourself anymore. You're just kind of working out of the shop here or whatever. I got a call
the other day to fly to China to do a John Legend show. Shanghai, observe, go to Hangzhou, get it working, fly back. Wow. So in between shows, my weekend shows, I'll fly to China. I'll do this. I'll come back, and then I'll be at Bub City.
So you don't sleep very well.
But listen, this is the thing. This is why I wear people out. I toured for 40 years.
Yeah.
So 5 shows a week is normal for me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So when I'm doing my 3 show a week thing, like I'm doing here, so I work 7 days a week, right? Because I'm at the shop 5 days a week, putting shows together, and they work 7 days a week. That they don't stop building. Sure. The world I come from, the show world, which you guys are familiar with, I have to explain this to my wife. Listen, I got 2 days of the week, Tuesday and Sunday. You know, I'm either working or not working. Right. And it doesn't matter what day of the week that is. Right. She'll go, well, hey, you're doing a show. It's a Sunday. No, it's a show day. Yeah, it's a show day. Right. You know what I mean? And when I was on the road, you know, it's not like it's a holiday or your birthday or whatever. You take something off. It's either a show day or a day off. Right. A typical tour is 2 days on, 1 day off, 3 days work, 1 day off, you know, so you work 5 days a week. But it doesn't matter what day that is. Yeah. Right. So, you know, that's all I've ever done. So you've had a crash course over the course of your life on pretty much how to run a band and put everything together again. This is a great point, and this is why we're here. Folks, sorry I bored you for all the first 20 minutes. No, not at all. This is exactly what I'm here to talk about, right? And we touched on this last time. My 40 years of experience and $5 gets you, they can't even get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks, right? Right. But it's an interesting place for me to be because all day long, this is what I'm doing, talking to the artists and the bands that most guys dreamt about being in that position. Right. Right. So, you know, I toured with the Eagles. I spent months in rehearsals. I toured with Sting. I toured with Bob Dylan. I toured with Paul Simon. I mean, I could go on for a long time. Clapton, Beck, you name it. I can explain to you what they were doing in their process. I can explain to you what's going on right there. But the guys around here, it just sounds like bullshit. You know, so I try to take people with me to shows. Like I took a guy that I played with Saturday night. I took him to Windy City Smokeout so we could watch a real country thing, you know, because I do a lot of country artists and I supply the lights for that show. You know what I mean? Okay. So I'm in that environment all the time. Right. But I cannot translate that environment to this. And I don't mean here, but I mean like to club level or to my basement band level. When I go, okay, well, here's what the cats do. Here's what we should do. I get a big roll of the eyes and you're full of shit. You have no idea how this thing works around here. Yeah. This is this is a Madison Square Garden, asshole. Yeah, this is a basement. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Right. You know? Exactly. Right. And so it's very, you know, a little frustrating for me. You know, I got to kind of let it go, you know, because, I'm treating it like that, you know, and I'm organizing it like that. And you're going to get your set list with the times and when to show up and be here and do this. And you're still going to call me and say, is there food and where do I park?
Yeah.
I said, I bet you there's an email that you got.
Yeah.
And if you read that thing, I bet you there's all kinds of information in that thing. Right. You know what I mean? Like, could, oh man.
Yeah. So it gets frustrating to you. Yeah. So
very much so. So that's why I wear people out, and that's why I keep running through them. You know what I mean? Until I can find the right group of folks. So really, this is a little commercial. Call me up, folks.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested, they want to play regularly. Go out and play some country and have an ear for country. We can do some beautiful things together. Yeah. And the hardest one is front people, to tell you the truth, as you know, being a front person, right? Somebody wants to bring personality. Some people can sing, but I mean, I've worked with a lot of artists who can't sing. I just went and saw the Stones the other day. I mean, Mick, but there's, 80,000 people having the time of their life because he can entertain, man.
Well, that's
the best entertainer.
That's exactly it.
Right.
I mean, it's front man is a much more accurate description of what the lead singer of a band actually does.
That's right.
Because you're not just singing, and half the time you don't have to be great, but you got to be able to read the crowd. You got to be able to do things on the fly. You got to entertain
with the folks and get them involved. And come on, folks, what are we doing? So I end up doing a lot of cheerleading, and the other guys will get it. But some of the other folks, they just flat foot and read their iPads and like, wow,
You're listening to the Rock and Roll Chicago Podcast.
I'm Christy from Crime Cave Podcast. I've had a huge interest in true crime since my days of watching marathons of Snapped back in the mid-90s. I needed an outlet to talk about the cases that have haunted me for a very long time. With each episode under 20 minutes, I shine a light on some of the most bizarre cases in the last 50 years. Join me in the Crime Cave.
Hi, I'm Rick Anthony. I'd like to thank my radio brothers, Ray the Roadie and Hollywood Mike, for allowing me to tell you about my podcast, the Someone You Should Know podcast. We spotlight musicians, authors, and interesting people, and we like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. The podcast is heard twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and you can check it out on your favorite streaming platforms and on the web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. That's the Someone You Should Know podcast with me, Rick Anthony. Making a difference, one artist at a time.
And on the other end of the coin, you talk about the guys that you worked with. Ray works with some guys that have toured nationally and the whole bit, and I've worked with guys that tour nationally and everything. But then being at that level, sometimes they can't reverse it. Because when you're playing a large theater, when you're playing an amphitheater, right? Yeah. You're not trying to make everybody here in the first 10 rows dance. All right, everybody, it's time to dance. No, you're not doing that. You're literally just playing. Right. And so you tend to lose. Okay, how do I get this crowd of 100 people get their ass off the bar stool? Yes. How do I do that? How do I get them to, make them feel like they're part of the party?
But you can see when you're connecting, because I got to tell you, I like looking close and see what some people dance. And I like looking far. And I love when, for a while people seem disinterested and they're doing their things over. But after a while, you'll see them kind of come around, and then you see the heads bob, and then you'll see in the back, and you're kind of
all right. I got them now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right, I hooked them. And then every show at break, I walk the room. I go to every single table, and it's easy for me because there's only 3 people at our show, so I can be.
It's great. Yeah.
But I don't care how many people there are. I go to every single table. I go around. I say hi, thank you for being there, and mostly it's out of stage fright thing, because most of the people that I think are giving me stink eye, that they just don't care. I go up and talk to them. I go, I got to tell you what, I really thank you so much for being here. And then 9 out of 10 times I'll turn to them and go, man, you guys are great. Yeah. I really love this thing. And it really breaks that thing down for me, because I'm sure I'm trying to win them over and they ain't getting it.
But they're still like this.
But right. Yeah. And they're right. And
because they're in awe.
I don't know about that. But
they're in awe.
But 9 out of 10 times they are really enjoying themselves. They're like, I don't even like country, but man, you guys are good and this is great. And I kind of really dig on that. You know? So I'm addicted to the line dancers and to that. Right.
This big job just getting by with 9 kids and a wife. I've been a working man damn near all my life, and I go back working as long as my 2 hands are fed to you. I
to go back working. Come Monday morning, I'm right back with the crew. I drink a little beer that evening, sing a little bit of those working man blues.
So if you bring the respect to the music and you play the music and you do that in the venues, it can happen. The hard part is trying to find everybody that's on the same page that wants to do that. Some people just want to play.
Right.
And not everybody's a listener.
Right. Oh, I know. Oh yeah. Yeah. So do you do any singing in the band, or are you just playing guitar? You're doing some singing and stuff in the band.
Well, gang vocals for sure. You know, everybody should be singing. I tell everybody, whether you got a mic or not, you got to be leaning over the edge of the stage, long neck, ice cold, whatever
it is. You got to be doing something.
You got to be singing.
Yeah. I tell you got to have your core singers. If there's harmonies, you got to get those right.
That's right.
Harmonies really make the band. But
Big
if
time.
you got other guys in the band, just don't sing directly in the microphone, but look like you're singing anyway.
Just mouth it. I don't even care if you don't get anything coming out of your mouth, but it better look like you're
having some fun or whatever. Yeah,
totally right. And get everybody going with you, or let's get this business.
Yeah.
Let's do. But again, I don't care if there's 3 people or 300 or 3,000. We're going to play it. We're going to play it like that.
Right.
So because that's where you're going to cut your teeth and learn how to do these things. I'll tell you what drives me nuts is these are paid rehearsals. Like if you can draw people, and you know this, you play a lot of venues here. Some of these venues are saying, how many people are you going to draw? Well, I'm quite honest with this. Nobody.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe we will. I'll surprise you. Maybe, we'll bring in a bunch of people. It's great. How many are you going to bring in the club? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, there's got to be a little give and take here.
Exactly.
So if they have not done their part and they don't market and they haven't done anything to help support this music or whatever, I've got little sympathy for them. Right. But I am going to come in there and bring a show. Right.
Of course.
And I'm going to play it like I'm at Madison Square Garden because I don't care, because this is an opportunity, a paid opportunity to rehearse. Right. So you'd think everybody else would be on board with you. Right. Because when you get to that, like we're playing a big fest this Saturday, when you get to that fest, and I got another one where we're going to open up for Tennessee whiskey. Well, I've done this a few times. These guys are drawing thousands, 4,000. They're killing it, right? Well, you got to entertain. So you're not going to think, okay, well, I'll do it when I show up at the big place. No, if you haven't been cutting your teeth at all these other places and figured out your vibe, you ain't bringing it there.
It's going to be you coming out from behind the amplifier, and all of a sudden the spotlight's on.
Yeah, right. Exactly right.
Right.
It's so Anyway, you can't always explain this. We all say yes and shake our heads, and sometimes I feel like the words dribble off my chin and just scamper away. It doesn't mean that people react.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we can all agree, but I don't really watch people's lips. I watch their feet. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what starts to change things.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned you've got a corral of different musicians depending on who's available. But is there a core group? Is there a group that you I guess, who's your first call guys? Who's your first call people then, in other words?
Why? Am I supposed to drop names?
I mean, if you want to, or do you have a crew that you prefer to call?
Well, I don't know if you know Mario Massey at all. Do you know Mario?
I don't think I know Mario.
Well, he's from the Mad Fox days in Elmhurst. So a lot of the guys that I know from way back at York High School and Risk and Joey and I'm from that 70s, 80s.
Gotcha.
Group of guys, right? So Mario's a few summers ahead of me, but he has a studio in Elgin.
Okay.
And Mario Massey. And there's a group of people that play out of there. So Gil is a drummer, studio cat, and he does a lot of things that I really appreciate, right? So he's a first call guy. Then there's another guy from a band called Davidson County, Tim. And that band doesn't do a lot of shows, but man, is this guy great. Hard worker, can do everything, right size, just right kind of kit, just plays it
Right.
great, right? And then Tim Reedy, he's playing with me this Saturday.
Yeah.
I call him up. You got a TBT show? No, will you jump in with me? Yeah. Sings lower thirds, always perfect, plays right size, and he knows my shtick. You know what I mean? He knows I don't like dead air space. If it's a heavy song, I want that kick going for the next.
Right.
I can't always get every drummer to do the things that I would like to happen, but Tim knows my shtick. So all of a sudden it'll start happening. I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
That's great.
Nice.
So a bunch of that 3 steel players, all of them are phenomenal. Paul Christera, he's in Denver right now. And then this other guy, Glenn D. Michelle, and then there's TC Furlong, which is just phenomenal. I don't know if you know TC, but
not personally, but I know of his work. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So, but he's an industry cat like me, an audio cat. So we know each other from that side. But when you get some of these pedal steels coming, and then oh my God, it's glorious. Then it's country.
I love that. I love that sound.
God,
I really do.
Exactly right.
And you don't get it around here. There's a lot of country bands, cover bands,
right?
And they're simulating it with a keyboard or a backing track or something.
Right.
And there's just nothing like the sound of a real guy doing that.
And I'll tell you what, that is my vision or my dream. There's a real fine line around here between track and I get it, because the average public really doesn't care kind of where that music's coming from. But if it sounds like they expect it to sound, they're not going to judge it. Only musicians are going to judge it.
True.
That's bullshit.
That's
I know.
Right. But the average public, the biggest bands around here are going to, run track. They're going to get the message, stand by, and 3, 2, 1, go. Right. All that stuff is going on. And then there's a fiddle player, but there ain't no fiddle player in the band. You know what I mean? But the audience doesn't care.
They don't care.
Right.
It's being delivered the way they want to hear it.
Exactly right. So there's that, which I dream about sometime, but not to that level. Then there's the musicians that I'm playing with that musically, when I've got 6 guys in a band, really can deliver that sound.
Right.
Except for all those harmonies that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, man, the real blend is to try to get someone that will trigger. You can keep yourself on time but you have to have a good drummer, and you have to someone musically add those elements in at the same time, but do it live and not do it to click or to track. Yeah. If I could find those musicians, because the cats that professionally do that, that's how it's done. Right.
Of course.
I mean, I can't tell you how many tours everybody goes, oh, that's bullshit. But listen, when I'm with Paul Simon and there's a Brian Eno or a Fripp loop or whatever in that song, that's in that song. But it was the sax player that's got a laptop that triggered that. Or when I'm with Sting, they've got a synclavier or something off the side, the bass tech, Sting will go, come on. Free, set them free. Right. And all the band walks up to the mics, free. Okay, girls, I want you to do it. Free, set them. And when you love somebody and you hear free. Well, that's the bass tech.
That's the bass tech over there. Yeah,
exactly right. I mean, but it looks like the band's doing it. It sounds right. The whole audience is going, whether the girls are all singing it and it's all together. But those little extra elements are being added by somebody, right? You know what I mean? So that's like the right blend. That would be my dream, to find cats that would want to be able to do both, play it and add those little, what I call it sparkle. You know what I mean?
We call it monkey cheese.
Maybe one day.
So what do you have coming up for the end of November and December? You got some dates on the books?
Oh, yeah. I booked through the year. But things slow down in the fall. And now what I'd like to do is do a clean sweep around. I book usually 80 shows by February.
Okay.
Right. And I have most of the year booked out. And then in the summer, I keep some space because it's country time, of course, in August, September, right? A lot of these country fests open up and I've got my country fests coming up that we're doing, but being a newer band, my bullseye always ends up out DeKalb, Cortland, out where the cornfields are. But the music plays really great out there.
Of course. Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, but the thing is to try to zero and pull it back in, but you can't do that till you cut your teeth a little bit. So this band in 8 months has done incredible. I mean, we've played all the venues that I want to play, but that's based off what the relationship we had with Two Beer Tommy.
Sure. Right.
And
right,
people
right.
just know that if I'm coming or whatever project I'm bringing, it's going to be good. I'm not saying we're the greatest. I'm not saying, but it's going to sound good. You're going to have that experience, right? You know, so.
Yeah.
And, I love Bub Cities. I love Carol's. I love all those venues, are fantastic to play. So,
yeah.
So, but wait, real fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
The venues that call me early spring, and I don't want to go inside, then I book them the last quarter.
Of course. Right.
Right. So a lot of these I had booked early, but I'm like, oh no, summer's all full.
Right.
Not really. But I got an October date. I got a November date. I got a December date. Right. You know what I mean? And I booked them.
Yeah.
Booked them early for the last quarter. So
So social media wise, where can people find you?
Wildwood Country.
Okay.
On Facebook. That's all I do is Facebook.
Sure.
That's Facebook, right?
Yeah. So,
and I'm sure you probably have videos or something. Fans post videos and kinds of stuff on there.
Not a super a lot, but I hired a photographer to come Saturday and mostly to do a press and promo shots for me because, as I said, I'm not much, but I'm all I ever think about. So I'm here to promote.
It said that on his Tinder profile too.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm here to promote me and promote if anybody's attracted to doing this thing, jump on the bench. For 8 months, you'll get wore out and then you'll split, but you'll have fun.
Right. Excellent.
Well, all righty. Well, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. It's really a pleasure to be back here.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
we had a
much.
good time.
Good time. A lot of fun.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, once again, we have a second entry into our podcast world. But I tell you, them stories those on the road stories are fantastic.
For 40 years, I don't know if you caught when he said he was on tour with Paul Simon for 14 years.
Yeah. That's amazing.
We could probably do a whole other podcast with him. And I mean, we could probably fill up hours.
Oh, yeah.
We were just walking out the door just now when I was checking to see if it was still raining because I was stupid enough to ride a motorcycle here today.
In November?
Oh,
holy cow.
Yeah. There's a Cheap Trick. There's a picture from their first tour is on one side of the door over there. And then Ariel Speedwagon is on the other side. And he's like, I worked with them when that was the show bill. Oh, and when that was the show bill. I was like, oh, wow.
That's crazy,
that's pretty
man.
amazing.
I mean, that's a lot. People think it's a cool job and stuff. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. You're on the road for so long.
I did as I was younger. I was lucky enough on a few shows where I knew a few friends that did it. And there was several times where I got called to, I believe they call you the grip when all you're doing is dragging cables across the stage and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think, oh, this is going to be so cool. Yeah. Not really that fun.
No, it's not. It's a thankless job. And I mean, none of them guys, unless they're the elite, are even nowhere close to being millionaires or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You're right. Yeah.
You just get the opportunity to travel with these guys and be a part of that, which is cool in itself. But to make a career of it, man, that's a long time.
Yeah. But it is cool to get called up on stage to play guitar.
Yeah, it is.
With Bruce Hornsby.
Yeah. That's got to be really cool.
And the bass player on ZZ Top right now, he was in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey,
Bass Tech,
get up here.
Let's go play.
You're playing. All righty then. Well, it's great to have him here. Like always, join us every Tuesday for another exciting episode of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. See you next week. Hey, everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. If you've been enjoying our weekly program, we have great news for you. Just tune in to Road to Rock Radio on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Time, and you can hear a rebroadcast of one of our past episodes. Then again on Thursdays at 7 p.m., you can hear our most current episode brought to you by the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66.
So go to roadtorock.org, scroll down, and click on Radio Station. That'll bring you to the Road to Rock Radio, a station committed entirely to the great music from Illinois, from Chicago blues born on Maxwell Street to today's rock and roll and everything in between. 24/7, all music with its roots in Illinois.
The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast is edited by Paul Martin. Theme song courtesy of M&R Rush. The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast does not own the rights to any of the music heard on the show. The music is used to promote the guests that are featured.
Rock and roll, Chicago. Rock and